This is gonna be delish. I am Deborah VanTrece, a chef from Atlanta, Georgia. Prior to becoming a chef, I was an international flight attendant. Through my travels, I've gotten the opportunity to experiment and try so many different cuisines. Woo, we're there, and I like what I'm tasting. Bam! All cultures have comfort food, all cultures have soul food. And that has helped to shape my conversation on food and the soul food community all over the world. Global Soul, a Southern twist on a global dish.
We bring the world together when we cook with soul.
Hi, I'm Chef Deborah VanTrece, and today we are going to do a Southern soulful twist on a global inspired dish. So today's dish is going to center around the wonton, a product no one argues is from China. It's been around for a long time. Chinese immigrants brought it to the US, but typically we're used to wontons being in wonton soup, perhaps, crab rangoon, stuffed with pork, stuffed with shrimp. We're gonna take the Southern route on one dish, and then on the other dish, we're gonna do an all-American thing. And we're gonna go with apple dumplings and milk jam. We are also going to make collard green dumplings as well. So let's get some of this going. So for the apple dish, we're gonna start with something that will take a while. It's called a milk jam. Now, milk jam has been around for a while. What's interesting about milk jam is there's a lot of cultures that do something similar. My grandmother used to make this. It's, I guess, pretty American, but the cool thing about it is you could also get the same flavor profile that you get from milk jam by making a caramel. And also, the Latin and South American culture, they have something that is called dulce de leche. They both give you the same flavors, which is really caramelizing sugar and mixing it with cream or milk. So I've got sugar, about 1.5 cups. A little pinch of baking soda. Watched my grandma do this, and that's what she did, so I'm gonna do it the same way. Vanilla bean, and split this, and then scrape. So I'm gonna also put the whole bean in after I've scraped it. And to scrape it, you're just splitting down the middle, and you're trying to get to all the little good stuff. You could, if you want convenience, use vanilla extract. Got all of that goodness coming out. All right, we're gonna stir this. Guess what? We're gonna put that on the back burner. And this is going to cook for hours. So you probably will end up taking the easy route and just making a caramel or buying a dulce de leche. Apparently, the difference between a dulce de leche and a milk jam is that the milk jam is made with whole milk. Dulce de leche is made with condensed milk. So that's the primary difference. I'm gonna just cover this up. I'm gonna let this go. We're gonna go to our second wonton. The collard green dumplings need a bigger pot, and we're gonna get collard greens. So I've got some that I've taken the stem out. Another thing that you can do is you can save the stems and pickle them and actually make pickled stems. Tastes really, really delicious. So we can either cut these or we can do old school. Take the stem out the greens. So we wanna make sure that the greens are washed. These have been washed, triple washed. Rinse, 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 agitate, agitate. Do a little bit at a time, pull the greens out, touch that sink bottom and it feels smooth. Your greens are not clean. So you're gonna cut them. You just want them smaller. I like to somewhat roll them usually because I think it's easier. A lot of people use meat to flavor the greens, to season them. We're going to make a vegan version. We're not using meat, we're gonna use veggie broth. All right, we've got greens cut. Now we need some things to flavor them, especially since we're not using meat. Celery, onion, red pepper. We're gonna get some fresh garlic. Now, if I was just serving the greens alone, I would probably chop a little bit bigger, because I would really just be using it for seasoning purposes. But at the end of this, we're gonna put these collard greens in the wonton. And we're gonna make a red wasabi vinaigrette. We're gonna use that as like a dunking sauce for our wonton. Our wontons are gonna be pan fried. We're gonna add a little bit of pot liquor to them at the end, just to give them a quick steam. If you don't know what pot liquor is the byproduct of the greens. Once the liquid is cooked with the greens in it, it becomes pot liquor. All right, I don't need a very big pot. It looks like I have tons of greens. I really don't. I'm gonna put just a little bit of olive oil. I'm gonna bring the olive oil up to temp. I'm gonna dice up the garlic. We're gonna cook these down and put them in that small little dumpling. That little wonton dumpling. So over the years, I've realized that little wonton dumpling, that little simple sheet of flour and water, we were so blessed with from the Chinese culture, acts as a really cool base for a lot of things. You can just about put anything in it. But if you ever need something super, super quick, just grab some wonton or dumpling wrappers and you will be like so thankful. Let's get these greens on. Got veggie broth. You can use chicken broth if you want a little bit different flavor. To that, I'm gonna add a little bit of sugar. Smoked paprika, bay leaves. Let's do a little more sugar. Not too much, I hate sweet greens. Pepper flakes, so do like a little bit of heat behind them. Gonna grab some salt. Just a splash of apple cider vinegar. That's my choice. You know, it's just a little bit of a splash. So what we're trying to create is a broth, is a liquid that takes some of the bitterness out of the greens and brings us some balance. Each type of green there is has its own level of pepper, its own level of bitterness. Collards, I think, are one of the tougher greens to balance out. We're gonna put a lid on this. We're gonna allow it to cook for an hour and a half to 2 hours. For now, we are gonna take a break and I will see you in just a few minutes. We're back. Milk jam is jamming. Collard greens are still greening. The collard greens, they can take probably anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours. And the milk jam usually takes about 2 hours. Sometimes it's even taking longer. So now we're going to make a collard green dumpling sauce, all right? Hot sauce, vinegar are imperative in the South to go with your greens. So of course, for a collard green dumpling, same rule exists. So we're gonna make a vinaigrette, but we're gonna add a little bit of Asian flair to that vinaigrette by way of some wasabi. So I've got wasabi, I've got my favorite hot sauce, and I've got vinegar. I'm gonna go over here to my blender, grab some olive oil, and get the sauce going. Make a bit of this. We'll do about a half a cup of hot sauce. Just use your favorite hot sauce. Everyone has a favorite. Hot sauce, quarter cup of vinegar. A little of this will go a long way. The wasabi powder, I'm gonna add just a little bit of water. Olive oil, nice emulsification. Taste, taste, taste. Pretty good. Pour that out so we're ready. So we have a red wasabi vinaigrette that's gonna go with ultimately with our collard green dumplings. Let's go on to our apples. So let's keep in mind what we're doing is a collard green dumpling with red wasabi vinaigrette and an apple dumpling. So we want to peel your apple. The apples I chose are Gala. I want an apple that's sweet, and I wanted an apple that would still hold its texture, be firm. We're gonna dice these. We're gonna drizzle this milk jam once it's finished. And we're also gonna sprinkle a little bit of goat cheese in there. I'm gonna stop for just a moment. We don't want our apples to turn brown. And we're gonna add just a wee bit of lemon juice. If you don't have seedless lemons, cup your hand like I'm doing, and then I'm catching all of my seeds. Lemon juice is to keep the apples from turning brown. So I'm gonna turn off the heat and open up the pot just a little bit. I wanna cool the greens down, so let's start that process. We're gonna do a little bit of sauteing of these apples. Gonna turn the heat down, medium. Let's start with about a tablespoon unsalted butter. So got a little bit of butter, might add more. We need to bring some flavor to the apples. So we're gonna saute the apples. Add a little bit more butter. Don't want a lot of butter. What is not our friend with the wonton is an excessive amount of moisture. You just gotta get it right there on the money. I'm gonna take that same lemon I used to squeeze. I'm gonna do a little bit of zest right into the pan. Then let's do a little bit of the orange. Again, just a little. When you're zesting, you want to try not to get too much of the white. The white is not our friend. The white creates bitterness. Ground ginger, it's a pinch or so. Cinnamon, we like cinnamon. A tablespoon and a half of cinnamon. Cardamom, about a half a teaspoon. And brown sugar. Got about a third of a cup of brown sugar. And if you want to take this to a whole nother level, like if it's a Friday evening and you're making this dish, go ahead and do a splash of bourbon. Take it to a whole nother place. So we want to saute the apples till they're just a little bit soft, not too soft, because we want the texture. We want to keep that texture in there. I'm gonna add one more little thing, a pinch of salt. We're gonna add a pinch of salt. Helps to bring out the sweetness. It helps to bring out that sugar flavor. We're gonna turn it off. We're gonna let that cool, get set up to make wontons. We will be right back. We are back. We are back. Greens have greened. Just take a look at this though, just so you can see what happens to a little bit of not much. We'll call it just a little bit of not much. Gonna add some scallions to the mixture of greens. Just rough chop. You could also add parsley while you're blending or while it's in your food processor. And I like that red vibrant color we have in our wasabi vinaigrette. I've got some oil on, heating. Got a little bit of cornstarch, and I've got a couple of trays that I've lined. We're gonna put some things on that later. So, making this takes practice. Doesn't take a long time, but you have to get your rhythm. I'm gonna go for 9 at a time, see what I get. So I think we're gonna start with the apple. So I'm gonna take a little spoon, put a bit of apple in the center. And you gotta have patience, it's worth it. I've got a little water bowl. Cornstarch, water bowl. Just a little bit of cornstarch on both of them. We'll go ahead and do it. One of these are gonna house the apple, one's gonna house the collard green. Wet my fingers, and then I go around the edge. And then I'm gonna seal this. We've got one down. So the reason we have cornstarch on our paper, you can do it on paper, parchment paper, you can line this with plastic. You know, it's really just to keep it from sticking. Press. Again, get your rhythm. So I tell you, they look just like little baby ham pies. fork or no fork. We're gonna press down. You can make them in advance and freeze them. And then anytime you want something sweet, just pull them up, pull them out of the freezer, and they can go directly in hot oil or your little fryer. All right, now we're gonna move on to the savory, the collard green. Now, on the greens, so we've mixed them up. These I'm gonna actually squeeze. I want the moisture out. Again, I'm gonna put a little bit right in the middle. So when I took these greens out though, I did reserve the pot liquor. It means I saved the broth, the flavored broth that the greens were cooked in. Or as we Southerners say, the broth it was cooked down in. And this seal's gonna be a little bit different. Dip our water, fold. So just like gathering and bunching it up. And we make a little pocket so we have a dumpling. It's like making a little crown. And once you get the rhythm, it moves right along. Don't get frustrated. Boom, 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 boom. Look at that, bam. So we're gonna do two different techniques. We're gonna deep fry the apple and pan fry the collard. So this is enough to start. I'm gonna get a paper towel and a tray. We're gonna go first with the apple. Gonna do a few at a time. Got a small pot. So I think I'm gonna do about 4 at a time. We're gonna fry them about 350 till they get nice and brown. Sometimes you do have to flip them. They float up to the top real quick. We're gonna put them on the paper towel to drain. I'm heating as I go my milk jam back up. Let's put another group in. These smell delicious. Yum. Now, I've got goat cheese. I'm gonna crumble just a little bit of goat cheese on top. I'm doing it now because they're hot, and I want it to just like, you know, soften up, melt across there. Yum. Stack them up like layered nachos, you know? We gotta make sure no one is cheated. We've got those layers of flavor. Milk jam. Pull out a vanilla bean that's been so patiently helping to jam our milk jam. We're just gonna go and pour. Now, we're gonna take the rest. We're gonna save it because somebody is bound to want extra. This is looking pretty darn good. All right, so we have here apple wontons with crumbled goat cheese and milk jam. We'll be right back. Deep frying is over. Now we're gonna pan fry. So to the pan, I'm gonna add just a little bit of olive oil. Gonna warm up our oil, olive oil, medium-high heat. Vegetable oil will work also. So these we're gonna do just a few at a time. You wanna make sure that you just get a little bit of color on this. Do a few at a time. And you could have strained these if you want. I didn't. But I wanted some of that pot liquor. I'm gonna add a little bit more. Turn these down low, just a little bit. I'm gonna put a lid on it and just let it steam for just a little bit. Let's get some of our sauce ready. Yum. So our dumplings. I'm gonna just add a little bit of that liquid onto them. Okay, let's chop up a little parsley. And we're gonna garnish this with just a little bit of tomato, scallion. And guess what? We are nearing the end. I'm gonna add that to our platter. Gonna top it. A little bit of tomato and scallion. A little bit of parsley for color. Yay! So here we go. We have our collard green dumpling with red wasabi vinaigrette. It is partnered with our apple wonton with crumbled goat cheese and a little bit of milk jam.